girls set up. Okay, I think that's fine. Okay. Alright, we are back with another reading series. And I keep thinking of different ideas for these, like just chattings, and I think it could be cool if I had like a horn intro, like but it's gonna be a work in progress. I also got a bunch of art supplies, so I could start doing like an art themed show. It probably would be absolutely nothing like Bob Ross. Just getting it out there, like I'm not that good at art in general. But it could be cool to try. My major considerations with that are that some of the painting materials are somewhat toxic, and because of that I might have to do some of the painting outside or in a well ventilated area. So yeah, I could instead have like a drawing theme stream or something like that, but yeah, it's something I need to think about. What I really like and enjoy about the reading series is that it's pretty easy for me to do. Like I can just read you all the chapters and then, ooh, itchy nose, react, and we can like discuss the reading. I think it's pretty cool because it's like I'm reading the book and sharing it with you, with my Twitch audience. And yeah, is there anything else I wanted to say before we dive in? Yeah, passwords, guy. Like my passwords are driving me cuckoo again. It's like you have to keep on updating your password because you don't want people to guess your passwords, and sometimes hackers try to figure out your passwords, and it's like really, dudes. It's gotten to the point now where Google has a suggested password feature in Chrome, and they just give you like a stream of gibberish that's like going to be impossible for anyone, including you, to guess, to put that in. And it's like, yeah, it's great because hackers aren't going to be able to guess that, but neither are you. Like there's no way humanly possible that you'll be able to remember that password. Like, and so you need to save it in Chrome. And then it's like, what if they hack Chrome? Passwords are just a giant pain in the buns. Like, I really hope that someone comes up with a creative alternative to passwords soon, because like as far as I can remember, they have been a giant headache. Trying to outsmart hackers and stuff like that is ridiculous. Okay, but on another note, yeah, Twitch has like all kinds of categories. Like just chatting is one of them, and there's like art and music, and I might use some of those category ideas for different types, different content creation ideas. Use them as like a reference point, if you will, for what types of content to offer you all, my audience. And yeah, music streams, I do like doing them, and fitness and health, I do also like doing those too. So I think it does make sense to keep those as a part of the show routine. But yeah, I think both music and art are related in a sense that, the more skill I have, the easier it is for me to have those types of shows and streams. Just chatting is easy enough because I can just talk with you guys, and respond to your chat like 777 yesterday with the Willy Wonka, ideas that he had. And once we get more people into the show, more people in the audience, like that'll give me a lot more content that I could have, because I could just spend time just chatting with chat. Like that's one idea. And it's like travel vlogging, that is another idea that I could do, is like take you guys with me on some of my adventures. Like I recently got back from Yellowstone. Out there it wasn't as ideal because I don't have like mobile connection. I don't have connection to Wi-Fi, and Twitch, the streams are very dependent on your connectivity. The quality of my stream alone is very dependent on internet speed and availability, which I may not have access to when I'm traveling. So that is one consideration to have. But where there's a means, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. And where there's a means, there's a way. And I keep saying it, but yeah, follows are going to help the show. Shares. As Mom was saying, like, even if you just leave the show on in the background, that view count does reflect in my stats. Like view counts and chat counts and follows and shares, and later on we'll have like bits and stuff like that. Assuming, of course, that the show grows. If it doesn't grow, then I may have to discontinue the show or keep reinventing until I find a formula that works. And that's what I'm seeing on a lot of my medias right now. It's like trying new things that may or may not be successful, like prototypes. Okay, we're in chapter 5 and we're in Sapiens. Last time we were focused a lot on, I believe his name is Denisov. Denisov's missing wallet. I don't know why I'm not seeing his name here. I'm seeing Rostov. Yeah, Denisov. Rostov's trying to track down the wallet that Denisov lost. Chapter 5. That same evening, there was an animated discussion among the squadron's officers in Denisov's quarters. "And I tell you, Rostov, that you must apologize to the colonel," said a tall, grizzly-haired staff captain with enormous mustaches and many wrinkles on his large features. Wow, he has more than one mustache. Dang, sounds impressive. He has many wrinkles on his large features. To Rostov, who was crimson with excitement. Staff Captain Kirsten had twice been reduced to the ranks for affairs of honor and had twice regained his commission. "I allowed no one to call me a liar," cried Rostov. "He told me I lied, and I told him he lied. And there it rests. He may keep me on duty every day or may place me under arrest, but No one can make me apologize because if he, as commander of his regiment, thinks it beneath his dignity to give me satisfaction, then you just wait a moment, my dear fellow, and listen, interrupted the staff captain in his deep bass, calmly stroking his long mustache. You tell the colonel in the presence of other officers that an officer has stolen. They suspect that Telyanin was the one who stole Denisov's purse. But I'm thinking that maybe under your pillow isn't the safest place to hide a stash of cash. Especially in an area that's as crowded as military barracks. Like, they keep saying, like, no one was in there, but, like, I think clearly someone was, if your wallet is not where you left it. Someone was in there, for sure. I'm not to blame that the conversation began in the presence of other officers. Perhaps I ought not to have spoken before them, but I'm not a diplomatist. I guess diplomat and diplomatist, I guess, are two different ways of saying the same thing, I would think. Almost makes you wonder, like, why diplomatist is even a word. Like, why not just say diplomat? I don't know. That's why I joined the Hussars, thinking that here one would not need finesse, and he tells me that I am lying. So let him give me satisfaction. That's alright. No one thinks you a coward, but that's not the point. Ask Denisov whether it is not out of the question for a cadet to demand satisfaction of his regimental commander. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty, what's it called, like, out of your rank. You're stepping out of line. Denisov sat gloomily biting his mustache and listening to the conversation, evidently with no wish to take part in it. He answered the staff captain's questions by disapprovingly shaking his head. You speak to the colonel about this nasty business before other officers, continued the staff captain. And Bogdanich, the colonel was called Bogdanich, shuts you up. He did not shut me up. He said I was telling an untruth. Well, have it so, and you've talked a lot of nonsense to him and must apologize. Not on any account, exclaimed Rostov. I did not expect this of you, said the staff captain seriously and severely. You don't wish to apologize, but, man, it's not only to him, but to the whole regiment, all of us. You're to blame all around. The case is this. You ought to have thought the matter over and taken advice, but no. You go and blurt it all straight out before the other officers. Now, what was the colonel to do? Have the officer try and disgrace the whole regiment? Disgrace the whole regiment because of one scoundrel? Is that how you look at it? We don't see it like that. And Bogdanich was a brick. He told you what you were saying was not true. It's not pleasant, but what's to be done, my dear fellow? You landed yourself in it. And now, when no one wants to smooth the thing over, some conceit prevents your apologizing, and you wish to make the whole affair public. You're offended at being put on duty a bit, but why not apologize to an old and honorable officer? Whatever Bogdanich may be, anyway, he's an honorable and brave old colonel. You're quick at taking offense, but you don't mind disgracing the whole regiment. The staff captain's voice began to tremble. You've been in the regiment next to no time, my lad. You're here today, and tomorrow you'll be appointed adjutant somewhere. You can snap your fingers when it's said, there are thieves among the Pavlograd officers. But it's not all the same to us. Am I not right, Denisov? It's not the same. I mean, honestly, like, some of these conversations in War and Peace are just straight up tedious. It's like, Leo, what's the point, yo? Get to the good stuff, man. It's a book about war. Denisov remained silent, did not move, but occasionally looked with his glittering black eyes at Rostov. You value your own pride and don't wish to apologize, continued the staff captain, but we old fellows who've grown up in and, God willing, are going to die in the regiment, we prize the honor of the regiment, and Bogdanich knows it. Oh, we do prize it, old fellow. And all of this is not right. It's not right. You may take offense or not, but I always stick to Mother Truth. It's not right. And the staff captain rose and turned away from Rostov. That's true. Devil take it, shouted Denisov, jumping up. Now then, Rostov, now then. Rostov, growing red and pale alternately, looked first at one officer and then at the other. No, gentlemen, no. You mustn't think. I quite understand. You're wrong to think that of me. For me, for the honor of the regiment, well, I'll show that in action. And for me, the honor of the flag. Never mind, it's true, I'm to blame all round. What else do you want? Come, that's right, Count, cried the staff captain, turning around and clapping Rostov on the shoulder with his big hand. I tell you, shouted Denisov, he's a fine fellow. And it's all because he was trying to track down your missing wallet, dude. That's better, Count, said the staff captain, beginning to address Rostov by his title, as if in recognition of his confession. Go on and apologize, Your Excellency. Yes, go. Gentlemen, I'll do anything. No one shall hear a word from me, said Rostov in an imploring voice. But I can't apologize. By God, I can't. Do what you will. How can I go and apologize like a little boy asking forgiveness? Denisov began to laugh. It'll be worse for you. Bogdanich is vindictive and you'll pay for your obstinacy, said Kirsten. Not on my word. It's not obstinacy. I can't describe the feeling. I can't. Well, it's as you like, said the staff captain. And what has become of that scoundrel? He asked Denisov. He reported himself sick. He used to be struck off the list tomorrow, muttered Denisov. It's an illness. There's no way of explaining it, said the staff captain. Illness or not, he better not cross my path. I'd kill him, shouted Denisov in a bloodthirsty tone. Just then Zurkov entered the room. What brings you here? Cried the officer, turning to the newcomer. We're to go into action, gentlemen. About dang time. Like arguing over this missing wallet. Mac has surrendered with his whole army. It's not true. I've seen him myself. What? Saw the real Mac with hands and feet? Into action. Bring him a bottle for such news. But how did you come here? I've been sent back to the regiment all on account of that devil Mac. An Austrian general complained of me. I congratulated him on Mac's arrival. What's the matter, Rostov? You look as if you'd just come out of a hot bath. He's arguing about something ridiculous, in my opinion. Oh, my dear fellow, we're in such a stew here these last 2 days. The regimental adjutant came in and confirmed the news brought by Zurkov. They were under orders to advance next day. We're going into action, gentlemen. Well, thank God. We've been sitting here too long. I think we all knew that. Like, literally everyone thought that. They get, like, what's it called? Ants in your pants, I guess, is one way of saying it. Like, you get, stir crazy. It's like cabin fever. It's like you just want to get out and do something. And I'm wondering why they didn't, too, because, as I said, if they offered reinforcements to General Mack, he might not have lost. Like, just saying. Chapter 6 isn't that long, but I think it makes sense to keep War and Peace to one chapter at a time, because most of the chapters are a decent length. Even as we've seen the chapters where nothing in particular is happening. I think it's a little bit interesting that we're focusing so much on these characters and they might be dead in like a week. like you're going off to battle. Like Rostov and Denisov might not make it. Like, so what do we care if a wallet goes missing? Like, is that really going to become important in the upcoming battle against Napoleon? I highly doubt it. But, I mean, at least that's a good sign. It's a sign that the book is going to start picking up soon. Okay, let's take a look in Crime and Punishment. And we could continue in. Excuse me. We could continue in Household Tales too. And the good thing about the Household Tales, Graham, is that the stories tend to be shorter. So yesterday, it's like. Where were we? The Frog King, or Iron Henry. Yeah, the Frog King or Iron Henry was yesterday's. And the stories themselves are only like a few pages long. So, yeah. It seems like easier reading too. It's not like I'm having to Google every third word because I don't understand the what's it called? I don't understand the the wording of the day. Vernacular, I guess, is one way of saying it. I think I said I guess too much. But it's all like where sometimes I use it to help fill some of the empty air. Let me see how long the chapters are in Crime and Punishment. They're decently long. Well, actually, I don't think they're that bad. It's like maybe 10 pages or so. Alright, let me read the preface first. And this is another one that's by Fyodor Dostoevsky, by another Russian writer. A few words about Dostoevsky himself may help the English reader to understand his work. Perfect. Dostoevsky was the son of a doctor, which, I believe Leo Tolstoy, was descended from a wealthy Russian family, I want to say. Yeah. His parents were very hardworking and deeply religious people, but so poor that they lived with their 5 children in only 2 rooms. The father and mother spent their evenings in reading aloud to their children, generally from books of a serious character. Kind of funny that that's what I'm doing now. Yeah, but I think that these books, it's going to be awesome when we get them done. I'll tell you that. A lot like John King in a way. It's like once you complete it, it's going to feel awesome. Though always sickly and delicate, Dostoevsky came out third in the final examination of the Petersburg School of Engineering. That doesn't sound bad at all. Like if you finish top 5 in your class, you're pretty darn smart, I would say. Maybe it was less so in those days because there were dramatically fewer people back in those days. If you look at a population chart, you'll see that human population just exploded at the start of the 20th century and up till present day. I don't think there were even half as many people. Let me just Google right now what. Yeah. So the world population in the year 1800 was about 1 billion. And today, I think it's closer to 8. Right? Yep. Today it's almost 8 billion. So in the last 221 years, human population has multiplied pretty dang dramatically. It's almost 8. The human population is almost 8 times as high today as it was in 1800. So yeah, there were a lot fewer people back then. And I think that part of the reason for that is because as Yuval explained in *Sapiens*, it was much more common for children to die young. Like for kids to get sick and die when they're like 2, 3 years old. That was a lot more common back then. Now I'd say it's extremely rare for kids to die before like 5 years old. It does still happen due to like sickness and stuff like that, like stillbirths, but yeah, I'd say it's significantly more rare today than it was in those days. And yeah, that's due in large part to the advances that we've seen in medicine. Though always sickly and delicate, he came out third in the final investigation of the Petersburg School of Engineering. There he'd already begun his first work, Poor Folk. The story was published by the poet Nekrasov in his review and was received with acclamations. The shy, unknown youth found himself instantly something of a celebrity. A brilliant and successful career seemed to open before him. But those hopes were soon dashed. In 1849, he was arrested. Though neither by temperament nor conviction a revolutionist, Dostoevsky was one of a little group of young men who met together to read Fur and Proudhon. Yeah, smart people sometimes get like demonized. It's like they're smart, so they're dangerous. Let me see if I can look more information up about Fur and Proudhon. It might be like political in nature too. Sometimes these people become like political prisoners. Charles Fourier, I think, was a French philosopher, an influential early socialist thinker, and one of the founders of utopian socialism. Pierre Joseph Proudhon supervised the printing of the book, which gave him ample opportunity to talk with Fourier about a variety of social and philosophical issues. Utopian socialism, I would say, is diametrically opposed to capitalism by nature. So yeah, it sounds like a bunch of have and have not stuffs. Yeah, and it still plays out today, like very much so. Like, look at the prison population, if you want to know what I mean. It's actually pretty messed up. But hey, I think we the people are the ones that need to get together and do something about that. And I don't know, I think Hassan's doing pretty well. I hope he's like pushing for that kind of stuff. It seems like he is on his channel, like socialism, equality, egalitarianism. And he's actually got a platform where he might be able to get some traction. Storm Show is as small as he gets. I think this is actually the smallest channel on Twitch. But it's okay because it's also simultaneously probably some of the smartest viewers on Twitch, so there you go. Okay. Yeah, like we need someone like Hassan or someone like that advocating socialist ideas for us to see any headway against systemic problems, not just racism, but like our problematic political systems, economic ideas. He was accused of taking part in conversations against the censorship, of reading a letter from Bielinski to Gogol, and of knowing of the intention to set up a printing press. Again, it's like, if you look at history can teach us a lot. And if you look at the Nazi rise to power, it's like one of the first things they did, other than kill off all their political enemies in the Night of Long Knives, was burn all the books. That's because ideas. It's like that movie, Inception, I guess. Is Inception the best example? Maybe V for Vendetta is a better example. It's like ideas can be like dangerous. So like, they kill off all the political opponents and they burn all the books that have different ideas, because they want everyone to think the same way. And that's how you know that it's like a what's it called, like dictatorship is establishing, is once that stuff starts happening. Okay. Yeah. He was trying to set up a printing press so they could make books for people to read. Kind of sad. Actually, it's really sad. Nicholas the First, that stern and just man, as Maurice Baring calls him, this was enough, and he was condemned to death. Was that Tsar Nicholas the First? Yeah, I guess so. He was born in 1796 and died in 1855. Which tells me that this probably occurred in Leo's lifetime. That some of these same beliefs happened. After 8 months imprisonment, he was with 21 others taken out to the Semyonovsky Square to be shot. And yeah, political suppression of ideas is pretty... it's one of those things that keeps recurring in history. Like, if you look at Soviet Russia too, it's like what Stalin did is he would take all of his enemies and put them in, like, gulags, like forced labor camps. Or just straight up eradicate them. And yeah, Stalin was one of the most brutal leaders in all of Russian history. I think that maybe even Ivan the Terrible wasn't as bad as Stalin. Like, Stalin was pretty freaking bad in terms of how many Russians he killed. Like, if I'm not mistaken, I think he killed more Russians than Hitler did. Like, that's how freaking bad it was. Right? Like, pretty crazy stuff. Writing to his brother Mikhail, Dostoevsky says, they snapped words over our heads, and they made us put on the white shirts worn by persons condemned to death. Thereupon we were bound in threes to stakes to suffer execution. Being the third in the row, I concluded I'd only a few minutes of life before me. I thought of you and your dear ones, and I contrived to kiss Plechdev and Durov, who were next to me, and to bid them farewell. Suddenly the troops beat a tattoo. We were unbound. Did I even read that correctly? Suddenly the troops... Yeah, that's what it says. Suddenly the troops beat a tattoo. I do not know what that means. We were unbound, brought back upon the scaffold, and informed that His Majesty had spared us our lives. The sentence was commuted to hard labor. And I don't know how it was in those days, but the gulags were pretty dang harsh conditions back in World War II under Stalin. Like hard labor was, it was pretty likely that you would die in the forced labor camp. Conditions were so bad. Like you'd starve to death basically in those camps. One of the prisoners, Grigoriev, went mad as soon as he was untied and never regained his sanity. I wonder if they were all arrested for the same reasons, like political reasons. The intense suffering of this experience left a lasting stamp on Dostoevsky's mind. Though his religious temper led him in the end to accept every suffering with resignation and to regard it as a blessing in his own case, he constantly recurs to the subject in his writings. He's like, even though everything is messed up, it's the way that God wants it. Like, it is God's will. God abides it. Like, this must be another trial. Another trial God is putting me through. It is just a test only of my faith. He describes the awful agony of the condemned man and insists on the cruelty of inflicting such torture. The followed 4 years of penal servitude spent in the company of common criminals in Siberia, where he began the Dead House and some years of service in a disciplinary battalion. I guess Dead House was another one of his books. He had shown signs of some obscure nervous disease before his arrest, and this now developed into violent attacks of epilepsy, from which he suffered for the rest of his life. Epilepsy, I think, is like, usually when I think of epilepsy, I think of like seizures. Like my uncle used to have them, where it's like you lose control of your body and you're just kind of like flopping around on the ground like a fish. Sometimes you'll see that happen to people randomly in public, and I think the common knowledge is you just kind of get anything away from them that's going to hurt them when that's happening, and then of course make sure their head is not going to be bumping against the ground, because they can injure themselves when they lose control like that. But from what I understand, it's genetic. Epilepsy, that is. But it looks like in this case, it may have developed from some of his experiences when he was in the Russian reform system. He suffered from epilepsy for the rest of his life. The fits occurred 3 or 4 times a year and were more frequent in periods of great strain. In 1859, he was allowed to return to Russia. He started a journal, Remya, which was forbidden by the censorship through a misunderstanding. In 1864, he lost his first wife and his brother, Mikhail. I keep wanting to say Mikhail, like Mikhail Gorbachev, but no, it's Mikhail. He was in terrible poverty, yet he took upon himself the payment of his brother's debts. He started another journal, the Epoch, which within a few months was also prohibited. He was weighed down by debt. His brother's family was dependent on him. He was forced to write at heartbreaking speed, and is said never to have corrected his work. The later years of his life were much softened by the tenderness and devotion of his second wife. Pretty sad stuff, like in his life, Fyodor. Yeah, really sad. In June of 1880, he made his famous speech at the unveiling of the monument to Pushkin in Moscow, and he was received with extraordinary demonstrations of love and honor. A few months later, Dostoevsky died. He was followed to the grave by a vast multitude of mourners who gave the hapless man the funeral of a king. He's still probably the most widely read writer in Russia. In the words of a Russian critic who seeks to explain the feelings inspired by Dostoevsky, he was one of ourselves, a man of our blood and our bone, but one who has suffered and has seen so much more deeply than we have. His insight impresses us as wisdom, that wisdom for the heart which we seek, that we may learn from it how to live. All his other gifts came to him from nature. This he won for himself, and through it he became great. Dang. So there you go, backstory of the author. Fyodor Dostoevsky. Alright, we're going to end there for today. Save chapter 1 for tomorrow. Chapter 1's pretty dang long. I think it's 10 or 15 pages long. Chapter 1. Part 1. Yeah, I think this is a good stopping point for today, since I think the category does say intro. So, yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens in his book, but based on what we learned about in the intro, some of it's probably advised, or he drew some of these ideas and conclusions from his time in captivity. So, I think that this book, Crime and Punishment, will be very insightful and probably have a lot of fascinating ideas. So, as always, thank you for watching. I hope that you learned something new today. If nothing else, maybe about the author Fyodor Dostoevsky, his background, or maybe that we're finally ready to set out for war and war and peace. But in any case, thanks as always for watching. Stormer Show signing out.